Welcome to The Explainer. Grab your virtual hard hats because today we're stepping into the shoes of a digital architect for a company called Contoso. We're going to build a secure, tightly managed enterprise network entirely from the ground up. If you've ever wondered how massive organizations maintain order, security, and consistency across thousands of computers, well, you're in exactly the right place. We are going to transform a raw, out-of-the-box server into a highly governed digital city. Here is our game plan for this explainer. We're going to tackle 5 key phases. First, deploying Active Directory. Second, managing directory objects. Third, enforcing group policy. Fourth, mastering precedence. And finally, verifying application. Let's get to it. All right, Section 1, deploying Active Directory. So, to lay the concrete foundation of our digital city, why are we using Server Core? Well, a Server Core deployment of Active Directory domain services is lightweight, it's secure, and it's incredibly efficient. By completely ditching the overhead of graphical admin tools, we're literally shrinking the server's attack surface and maximizing our resources. It's just the perfect, low-overhead environment for these absolutely critical identity services. You might be wondering, how do we actually build this foundation without a graphical interface? We lean in to the power of remote PowerShell commands. First up, we install the AD-Domain Services feature. Second, we make sure it actually worked using the get-Windows feature command. And finally, we promote the server to a domain controller using invoke-command alongside install-acd domain controller. Oh, and during this promotion, we also set up our safe mode administrator credentials using the highly secure, definitely never before guessed lab password, PA55WORD. Moving right along to Section 2, managing your directory objects. Now that the foundation is poured, we've got to populate our city with neighborhoods and citizens. We're creating 3 distinct object types here. First, an organizational unit, or OU, named Seattle. You can think of this as our new neighborhood. Second, a user account for a citizen named Ty Carlson. And third, a global security group named Seattle Branch Users. Grouping our users like this, that's the secret sauce that makes scalable management actually possible. Let's look at exactly how we set up Tyuji using PowerShell. We fire off new AD user to create his account, and then hit it with set AD account password to give him that standard lab password, pay55dirt. Next, we run enable AD account to make his profile active. Finally, and this is super important, we use add local group member to drop Tyuji into the local administrators group. This is vital because it gives him the rights to sign in to our admin machine, which means we can actually test his access later on. All right, Section 3, enforcing group policy standards. Every functioning city needs laws, right? Well, in Windows Server, those laws are group policy objects, or GPOs. To lay down the law for Contoso, we create the Contoso Standards GPO and link it directly to the root of the contoso.com domain. That means it applies to everyone, no exceptions. We're configuring 3 specific administrative templates. First, absolutely no access to registry editing tools. Second, a strict screensaver timeout of 600 seconds. And third, you gotta have a password to unlock that screensaver. Now, we never just cross our fingers and assume our policies work. We test them. If we sign in as Ty and try to run regigit from the command prompt, boom, he's instantly met with a very uncompromising error message. Registry editing has been disabled by your administrator. That proves our domain-wide laws are actively working, locking down those system registries exactly like we intended. Which brings us to Section 4, mastering precedence and filtering. Setting a universal rule is the easy part. The real headache? That happens when there's an exception. So, what happens when policies collide? Our Contoso standards demand a 600-second screensaver timeout, but let's say the Seattle branch has a specialized application running on their screens all day, and they need that timeout completely disabled. That is a direct contradiction to our domain standards. Let's see how group policy handles this little showdown. On one side, we have the universal Contoso standards. On the other, we've whipped up a new GPO called the Seattle Application Override, which completely disables the timeout. Because we link this override GPO directly to the Seattle OU, meaning it's literally closer to the user objects than the domain root, its settings take precedence. It totally overwrites that domain-wide 600-second rule for anyone living inside the Seattle OU. But wait, we don't want this override applying to just anyone who wanders into Seattle. We need to target it precisely. To do that, we use security filtering. We strip out the default authenticated users group and explicitly drop in the Seattle branch users group. Actually, here's a massive gotcha that trips up so many admins.
Group policy requires each computer account to have read permissions from the domain controller to successfully apply user GPO settings. So we absolutely have to add the CA-ADM1 computer account to this security filter. Otherwise, the override simply won't work.
Finally, Section 5. Verifying network policy application.
A top-tier digital architect never blindly trusts that the laws and exceptions are playing nice. To simulate this without actually messing up anyone's workday, we fire up the Group Policy Modeling Wizard. We feed it the exact parameters of our scenario. User is Contoso/TIE, computer is Contoso/CAADM1, and the security group is Contoso/Seattle branch users. This lets us simulate the environment perfectly and calculate exactly what TIE is going to experience the second he logs in.
Once we run the wizard and dig into the generated report under the control panel personalization details, the simulation gives us exactly what we wanted to see. The screensaver timeout settings are officially listed as disabled, our targeted, heavily filtered policies executed flawlessly against those broader domain rules. And the report tells us exactly why it worked. It explicitly crowns the Seattle Application Override GPO as the winning GPO. This is the whole shebang right here. By truly understanding link placement and security filtering, we validated our entire hierarchy. Our specific exception cleanly, safely overrode the general rule. As we step back and admire Contoso's newly minted network, think about the delicate balance we just struck. We locked down the registry to protect the system, but we still carved out a granular exception so the Seattle branch could actually get their work done without screensavers driving them crazy. It leaves us with a critical thought to ponder. Does the pursuit of granular IT security inevitably compromise seamless user experience, or is masterful group policy management the actual key to achieving both? Think about how these layers of control impact the daily grind in your own environments. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep building securely.